الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Did the Creator show tolerance when He punished the people of Prophet Lot when they committed one of the major sins, which is homosexuality? The answer is a simple yes. Throughout history, as we can read in the final testament and last revelation of our Creator, the Quran, it is the way or sunnah of Allah that He punishes those who disobey Him. And yet, He, the Almighty, is the most tolerant of all. The fact that He gave us the gift of free will testifies His great tolerance to us as His creation. But there is a misunderstanding amongst people on the meaning of tolerance. In fact, this misunderstanding resulted to unjust accusations to Islam and the Muslims in particular, and to the whole world in general. Tolerance is the capacity to endure pain or hardship. It is the act of allowing something and the allowable deviation from a standard. Endurance, patience, and forbearance are the synonyms for tolerance. On the other hand, toleration is a government policy of permitting forms of religious belief and worship not officially established. This is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Like patience, it is not an absolute trait that one must endure the bullying of a bully forever. As the popular example goes, when you fill up a cup with water and you continue pouring water into it, then a point will be reached where the water shall overflow or spill out the mouth of the cup. The cup can just hold a certain amount of water, but not more than it can hold. Our Creator has set boundaries, rules, and restrictions that, when violated, will certainly make Him angry. Do you expect the employer to be happy when you, as an employee, keeps on violating the set regulations of his company? Let us make it very clear then that when we speak of tolerance, we do not mean absolute, and there is no such thing as absolute tolerance. Maximum is the right term to use, and so we have exercised maximum tolerance. Take a look at Saudi Arabia, a very clear example, if not a role model for tolerance. There are more than 1 million overseas Filipino workers working in that country. If Saudi Arabia is not tolerant, just as the enemies of peace falsely accuse them, why would they hire non-Muslim Filipinos when a lot of Muslims in the world are in need of jobs and have the same skills and professions like the Filipinos apply for? Look at the OFWs in Saudi Arabia. They make illegal wine. They use and sell illegal drugs. They violate a lot of rules of that country. I know it because I worked in the Philippine Embassy based in Saudi Arabia for 10 years. Do you expect Saudi Arabia to keep quiet or behave as if they are blindfolded and just let misdemeanor, misconduct, and evil deed proliferate and destroy or ruin the morals of members of the society? Of course not. First and foremost, that is not the teaching in Islam, and Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country. Singapore is the second lowest crime rate in the world, where death penalty is legal and they strongly implement it. And yet it is not an Islamic country, where death penalty is expected to be 100% legal because it is the law of the Creator. Bear in mind that tolerance is most effective when rules are set, obeyed, and implemented. In other words, we cannot say a place or a country on a bigger scale is tolerant when there are no rules or laws existing. The Russian president is very strict about the LGBT issue, where he does not tolerate their practice and exposure. And let me emphasize that Russia is not an Islamic country. If you claim that you like to belong in the LGBT group, then be sure to hide it. Otherwise, suffer the consequence. I was a former Catholic, and I know that the LGBT is 100% immoral. Even if popular personalities who have the privilege to speak using wide-scope media, such as the television, say that we are not doing something wrong, or we are not stepping on others or hurting others, because they forgot or pretending to forget that the fact they claim they are LGBT is in itself a sin. Yes, indeed. When they say we are LGBT, instantly they commit sin. And just what do criminals do? They commit sins. We are all sinners, but we struggle every day to outweigh our bad deeds by our good deeds. When the LGBT say, "To God be the glory," they are not praising the Creator. In fact, they blaspheme Him. Did you see the effect of their sin? Being LGBT is a sin. They no longer have shame even to speak about God while they are being LGBT. I do not approve of a person who is LGBT, but he says, "I'm ashamed to speak the name of God because I am committing a grave sin being a LGBT." Although this person is far better than those who proudly say, "I'm LGBT, and there is nothing to be ashamed about this." This latter type of LGBT has reached the peak of ignorance. They even refute what Manny Pacquiao said. And he was just quoting what he claims to be the sacred book states. He said, "You," referring to the LGBT, "are karumal dumal," meaning despicable, unworthy, abominable, and degrading people. Why is this the peak of their ignorance? Because God never said they are His creation. He created man and woman, yes, but not LGBT. And here they are telling the world that God created them. Shame on you telling what God did not say. Why don't you tell the world the truth? The truth is, God punished you. Read the story of Prophet Lot and his people, and that is the truth. So you see, all agencies, both government and private, must have a clear understanding about tolerance. Otherwise, instead of you trying to defeat the plans of the enemies of peace, you may be actually falling into their traps and indirectly supporting them succeed in their evil schemes. Look at what recently happened in Mindanao. I am totally dismayed when people with educated backgrounds reacted to this issue and not responded. There is a big difference between reaction and response. And because of their lack of understanding of what tolerance is, they said that this is an act of intolerance, unfair treatment, injustice, and so on. Are you aware that many non-Muslims in Mindanao prefer the Islamic rulings to prevail in their society than any other system? In that particular issue, the parents of the lesbians or LGBT agreed to have their hairs cut as punishment for their misbehavior. You better read the full, true details of the story in the Bangsamoro FB page and don't rely on fake news. Now, let me ask you, do you think Isa or Jesus alayhi salam will agree on the existence of LGBT? Having aware of the menace brought about by the LGBT in the community, do you think it is okay to let them do their thing openly without boundaries? Well, if you say yes, then I must have the impression that you are not a Christian. Because no Christian who believes and practices Christianity religiously will ever say that LGBT is okay. If the LGBT say I am a Christian, then he is a liar. Because Christianity never teaches LGBT. Go ahead, ask the priest, ask the nuns, pastors, bishops, cardinals, and reverends. They will honestly answer you that LGBT is immoral and ungodly. I would consider it as a disease, and Islam has the cure or medicine for it, alhamdulillah. You don't believe it? Ask those who did a 360 degrees maneuver in their life after they accepted Islam. Now, there is a direct relationship between peace and tolerance. If we practice real and true tolerance in the society, then surely we shall protect peace and let it reign in the land. Why do we catch and imprison criminals? Because we don't tolerate crimes to exist. Are you sound-minded if you say criminals and non-criminals can coexist in the land? That is extremely foolish and senseless. What must coexist is what the Creator told us to be. Man, woman, marriage, family, children, prayers, hijab, and so on. All in accordance to the will of God, not the will of man like the LGBT. Remember that God punished the LGBT and never tolerated them. And so, who are we to disregard the laws of God against those who disobey Him? We have no right to do so. And yet, with free will, we continue to violate His laws. And look who suffers. Us. The sufferings we face are the result of the doings by our own hands. And so, dear brothers and sisters, let us be one in disallowing the LGBT in the society and rather help them get rid of the disease they are suffering from. We shall always practice maximum tolerance, but never to the extent of causing any harm to our families and every member of the community. We shall always protect peace, and so we shall never allow distorted knowledge be spread and misunderstanding linger in the minds of people. We shall remain relentless in teaching the truth and only the truth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.